Hello, and welcome to the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. Here, we discuss homeschooling from the African perspective and the unique challenges that come with it.
If you're considering homeschooling, we hope to inspire you as you take this bold step. If you're already a homeschooler, we are here to share encouragement for this wonderful journey we are on to educate our children in the best way we can. We are your hosts, Jifa Andam and
Carissa Nete Mabel.
Let's dive right into today's conversation.
Hello, friends. Welcome to today's episode of Homeschool Conversations Africa. We are glad to have you join us. On the show today, we are privileged to have a wonderful couple who successfully homeschooled 3 kids by God's grace and are on their last one. They're missionaries in Ghana. They've been for the past 14 years. Pastor Fredrick is the pastor of the Independent Lighthouse Baptist Church in Tema, and Antionette is his wife. We're glad to have them here today. I'm not going to say much more because I'm going to allow them to tell us more about themselves once we begin this conversation. So thank you again for joining us, and let's get right to it. Welcome, Pastor Fredrick and Antionette, to Homeschool Conversations Africa.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great. So I suppose before we get into all the many questions I have for you today, would like to hear a bit about you, your family, your background, how long you've been homeschooling, and anything else that you want to tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Antionette Kearney. I was born and raised in Ghana until I was 13 years old, and I joined my parents in New York City when I was 13 years old, and went to school there, finished junior high school, college, and went ahead in life. And I met my husband, Fredrick Kearney, and we got married some 28 years ago. And we started our journey as parents with children.
I'm Fredrick. I'm the youngest of 11. Was born in a city, Los Angeles, California, reared in a very small rural country town by the name of Paris. I pretty much went through all the education. I'm a nurse by training, a registered nurse, and I've been involved in ministry since I was 17 years old, and had the wonderful privilege of marrying an awesome wife, Antionette, some 28 years ago. And we've had the wonderful privilege for the last 25 years, I guess 22 of those 28 years to homeschool our. And it's been an incredible experience. And I'll let my wife go ahead and get right into it as we go on.
Wow, 22 years of homeschooling. That sounds like quite the feat. We thank God for you. And I agree with you, Pastor Fredrick, about the awesome wife. But yes, I think Antionette is awesome too.
Thank you.
So can you tell us, how have you always homeschooled? Did you homeschool your kids right from the get-go, or were they in school before you pulled them out? And what made you decide to homeschool?
Yeah, well, after college, I went into teaching schools, and as a new mom, I started teaching my children, or my oldest son, Fredrick, in a bathtub. Every time we'll take a bath, I'll have all the foam alphabets in in the tub with the water and the soap suds and just started teaching him his phonics. I truly believe that before children are sent off to school, they should learn to read at home first. And so we just had fun playing. And in the process of playing, he learned the sounds of his alphabet. So we went ahead and bought the Hooked on Phonics program. There were 5 levels of the Hooked on Phonics program. And by the time we knew it, at the age of 4.5, 5 years old, he had finished the first 5 levels.
Wow.
And he was 3, and baby number 2 was born. And I decided that it will be beneficial that I come home. My husband at that point was a registered nurse, so that income could take care of our mortgage and our basic needs. So I stepped down as a teacher and came home to be with my children, to begin to continue the process of homeschooling our oldest son, Fredrick. And so at the age of 3, we put him on the piano, and the teacher would not take him because he was so young. But we dealt with him at home every day and taught him through a niece every day, 30 minutes piano. And by the time he was 5 years old, a teacher, a dear teacher that just loved homeschool families, took Fredrick under her wings and started teaching him how to play the piano. So by that time, baby number 3 was on the way, and baby number 1 was old enough also to follow in his brother's footsteps of learning his phonics, so that he can he can also learn how to read.
Wow. This is exciting. This is some good stuff. Now, you mentioned that you were a teacher, so I just want us to take a pause there, and I would like you to answer this for me, because a lot of people who meet me and find out that I homeschool will say, well, are you a trained teacher? So Antionette, can you speak to that? Can you talk to people who are wondering if you need to be trained as a teacher to be a homeschooler? Can you?
No, absolutely not. Actually, it may not even be a good idea to have that background, because at home, the environment is not a school environment. And we're homeschooling not because we want to hear bells ringing and children moving from lockers to their classrooms, but we really want to be sensitive to the needs of our children, and also to be in focus on how they learn. Some children really learn well by just reading, some children doing, and some children learn by both learning and doing. And so knowing that our children have different learning styles, we as parents have to really connect with them on the heart level to try to assist them. So in a teaching setting, in a formal teaching setting, it doesn't really play well in the home setting, because it's the background or the training is good, but it's not necessary, because you're looking at your child in a holistic way. You care about their you care about teaching them about God. You care about helping them to have good observational skills, good communication skills, good listening skills. Whereas as a teacher, you may just assign yourself to one subject. Oh, I'm the science teacher, or I'm the math teacher, and that's it. But in a homeschool setting, you're looking at the whole person for who he is, and character is very, very important, instilling character in the children. So it's a you student God relationship. You know, your child with you and God, with a relationship. So every time we're sensitive towards whether they're telling the truth, whether they're being obedient, whether they're being respectful, whether they're able to communicate their heart and their mind. And so to me, the teacher-student relationship is not the same compared to the mother, son or daughter, or mother-child relationship when it comes to homeschooling. Even though there are times when your children need to kind of see you as, I need you to see me as a teacher, as a facilitator, as someone that's going to guide you. So, respect me, and let's really stay focused, and let's really concentrate to get some of this seed work done. And, yeah. And then there are times they see you as, Mom, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, can you get me a snack? And so on. And they're sending you here and there. Yes.
So you're switching, you're kind of switching between. But what I'm hearing you say is you do not need to be trained as a teacher. Maybe sometimes that can even be an obstacle. Right. I really like what Antionette said here, dear listeners, the fact that we should focus on the needs of our children. And who cares about your children more than you,
Exactly.
Try to connect with them on the heart level. That's great advice. Thank you. So would you say that was your reason, or one of the key reasons why you decided to homeschool?
We decided to homeschool. I looked at my paycheck, and I looked at the cost of daycare for sending my children in to be cared for by a daycare center. And financially, it was more reasonable that if my husband's income could take care of our needs, then there is no need for me to have to be, putting my children in the care of someone else, or even in a crèche or and go to work. So we decided that financially I could come home and he can support, live simple lives, and be able to stay home. But there's also a biblical reason. Dad, do you want to answer that? Why we decided to homeschool?
As well as the financial aspect, we truly wanted to give our children a biblical worldview, and to basically have them espouse what we believe, rather than to be taught something contrary to what we believe, and then have to defend what we believe. So that was very much a part of our thinking as well. Probably one of the leading factors in making that decision to homeschool our children.
And isn't that so very important now, especially now for those of us who profess to be Christians? That biblical word is so necessary, because it seems like the world is fighting against everything that we are about and trying to do. So moving on, we hear a lot from people who homeschool younger children. So far, most of the people that we've talked to have homeschooled younger children, but you've graduated, shall I say graduated from homeschool. You've graduated three children already. That's quite a feat. And we would like you to tell us about that. How was it like homeschooling high school? Because I know some people will homeschool maybe through elementary or maybe even middle school, and then at that point they send them off because it's too much, or I can't do this. But I believe you guys did it for all three. So can you tell us how you managed that? What were things like in your home? Or you're still doing that, I believe, with your daughter, right?
Right. Yes. We had a very interesting way of approaching, I guess, the latter years of their education. A lot of the foundational, that investigative curiosity was already, in place and working quite well. I think what we realized is that they needed to be prepped for taking tests and being able to, handle that aspect of leaving homeschool. And so we used a number of test prep. Our children have all taken the GED, which is the American General Education Diploma. And we basically, bought all the necessary resources for that. And then we used a great deal of advanced prep material as well. Kind of to give you an idea of what our homeschool day looked like as they got older. I'm not certain if that's, but basically we had a regiment. 5:30 in the morning, we were up. We would do physical exercise, and sometimes it may have been would be after we'd walk. We may do golf, maybe taekwondo, maybe tennis, but we would have those kinds of things, and then they would have their music time, whether it was piano, French horn, bassoon, whatever the instrument that they were playing. Have times that they would practice, and then that would usually be early morning things, early morning activities, and then they would basically spend the rest of the day following the basically the script that mom had laid out for them as far as the things that she wanted them to accomplish. So that's kind of how it was in the latter part of the homeschooling process for us.
Yeah, as they got older, we could set up video lessons with a music teacher that volunteered to teach our children via the internet, the piano, their skills. And we gave them many leadership opportunities for them to serve. And we helped them with household responsibilities, where they can prepare a meal on their own. Because even now, our children, because of them not coming home in college there in the US, they prepare their own meals and eat. We also help them develop research skills. If there's a topic that we are studying, we will have them to do a research report. We surrounded them a lot with excellent books. Books, all sorts of books that will develop their critical and analytical skills. And the first three became avid readers. And once you become an avid reader, you can read a story, a historical biography, and learn about World War II because you read, a story about a famous person. And so we gave them the G.A. Henty books, and they ate those up. So most of the time, with no TV in our home, we have a TV, but it's not for sit and watch, the 6 o'clock news or whatever. But pretty much we don't operate with that media or the TV thing. So our children were always they got in trouble for being found reading a book or something like that. And then the music aspect, we prayed and asked the Lord, help us, Lord, to not tell them to go to the piano. They should just gravitate to the piano and just play or whatever, without us constantly having to, go to your instrument, play. No, they at one point God just did it, that they practiced without us telling them to go and practice. So we had them read a lot, especially when it comes to history. Teaching the subject of history is best to do it through a story of a real person. And so they did a lot of reading. We've also tried to help them to use the internet. When we were going to school, you couldn't do much on the internet. Actually, internet is probably 22 years old. But it's helped us to homeschool them, especially with the sciences, and learn something about a principle, a scientific principle that maybe they didn't quite understand in the textbook, but now they can look at a video and understand it, or look at several videos and kind of get an understanding. So with Michael, we had him do a physics course on the internet with a teacher that was specifically for homeschoolers. For our oldest son, Fredrick, we got him the Bob Jones video program to help him as well with prepping him for high school.
Okay.
Yes, and then with Stephen, at one point we just got him the accelerated Christian education curricula that was able to also help prep him for high school.
Wow.
For college.
Wow, for college.
For college.
I've heard so much. I'm trying to take notes here, but starting with what Pastor Kearney said, I did hear a lot of discipline and the need for structure, right?
Yes.
Especially as they get older, and the encouragement to read, or to encourage reading in our children as early as possible, so that it's not when they're old and at that stage that you're going to try to force them to read, that they will love it themselves already. And I can say that this is true even in my home. Yeah. It's mostly that you're trying to steal them away from the book to come and do something else. And that's a wonderful problem to have.
We'll have to wrap up here, but we will continue this conversation in our next episode, so do join us then. Thank you for listening to the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast.